Hey guys, it's Saga from TechWorks, and in this video, let's look at the new triple cameras on the OnePlus 7T. I don't like that OnePlus is launching new phones so close to each other, because it is making their current users seriously angry. But at the same time, it is good for new customers who get to experience the new tech as soon as it is available. As much as OnePlus wants us to believe that cameras on their phones are amazing, the reality is, cameras on their phone have never been a selling point for them. Quite frankly, cameras on OnePlus smartphones have just been average at best, and I really hope that is not the case with the OnePlus 7T because rest of the phone is really amazing. Before we get to the specs of these cameras and the image and video samples, if you are new to this channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it. That way, you won't miss out on any of the amazing videos coming up on this channel. OnePlus 7 just had two cameras at the back, and at the time, many of the competing smartphones were coming with triple camera setup. So OnePlus changed things and brought in three cameras at the back of the OnePlus 7T. These three cameras are now placed in a circular camera module like we had on Moto G smartphones. And out of the three, primary camera gets a 48 megapixel sensor with f1.6 aperture, 26mm lens and optical image stabilization. Second camera gets a 16 megapixel sensor with f2.2 aperture and a 17mm ultra wide angle lens. Third and the final camera gets a 12 megapixel sensor again with f2.2 aperture, but this one has a 51mm telephoto lens which gives us a 2x optical zoom. With the primary camera, you can take 4K videos in up to 60 fps, 1080p videos in up to 240 fps and 720p slow motion videos at 480 fps. Wide camera can shoot 1080p and 4K videos but only at 30 fps. And the telephoto camera can shoot 1080p and 4K videos at 30 and 60 fps. At the front, you still get a 16 megapixel camera with f2 aperture and a 25mm lens. Interface of the camera app is pretty similar to what we had on the OnePlus 7 Pro. You get a lens selection button above the shutter button, and there is a new macro mode option at the top. You can enable it if you want to take extreme close-up shots of a particular object. You get the Pro mode, and from here, you can change the resolution of the images that you want to capture. Normally the camera captures 12 megapixel images with pixel binning, but if you want to capture an image at its native resolution, you can switch to the 48 megapixel mode from here. There is also an option to shoot 12 megapixel RAW images. Range of ISO in the Pro mode is from 100 to 3200, and range for shutter speed is from 1/8000th of a second all the way up to 30 seconds. Let us start with the daytime shots. Even without pixel peeping, you can straight away tell that there are a lot of details in these images. This is the same 48 megapixel Sony sensor that we saw on the OnePlus 7 and 7 Pro and countless other smartphones that came out earlier this year, so we know it is capable of taking some amazing shots. All these images are pleasing to look at. I think there is slightly more contrast making the images appear a bit darker, but rest of the colors look good and natural. There is no weird green or magenta tint in these images like we saw in some of the shots from the OnePlus 7 and 7 Pro. In terms of the dynamic range, I think OnePlus should have done slightly better. It does well to bring up the shadows, and it also preserves the details in the highlights in some of these shots. But it doesn't seem to do it consistently even if the HDR mode is kept on. Like you can see in this case, HDR mode did not make any change in this image. I had to take this shot 3 to 4 times to see the HDR mode do its work properly. This is a minor software issue, and I'm sure it can be addressed with a quick software update, so I won't worry too much about it. Unlike the OnePlus 7, we get 3 different focal lengths on the OnePlus 7T. The wide lens lets us get more of the scene in the shot than we could with the normal lens. And the 2x telephoto lens lets us get closer to the subject, all by standing at the same exact spot. The ultra wide and the telephoto lenses and the sensors behind them are not as good as the primary camera, so the images from those lenses appear a bit softer. And there is also some amount of distortion towards the edges in the images captured with the telephoto lens. But having 3 different focal lengths is still nice because it lets you capture the same scene in different ways, and each one depicts a different story. Last time, if you remember, OnePlus 7 Pro faced major focusing issues while trying to capture close-up shots. That is not a problem on the OnePlus 7T. It is fast and accurate at setting the focus on a nearby object, making it much easier to capture these close-up shots. Subject that you are trying to capture is in extreme sharp focus, and thanks to the wide f1.6 aperture, background in these close-up shots gets a very nice optical blur. OnePlus also enabled a macro mode on this phone, which allows us to get even closer to the subject, giving the images a very different perspective. With the macro mode, you can capture some of the details which are even harder to make out with our own eyes. I used to enjoy close-up photography, but since I got to try macro photography on the Huawei P30 Pro, I have actually been looking forward to phones which offer this feature. As much as I love taking close-up shots, I love taking portrait shots even more. And the OnePlus 7T does a good job with these portrait images. It also gives us the options of taking portrait shots with the normal wide or the 2x telephoto lens. So you get to choose the kind of portrait shots that you want to take, and that is great. When it comes to actual quality of these portrait shots, I feel the edge detection is really good from both the cameras, but the main subjects are much sharper in the wider portrait shots, while they are much softer if you take portrait shots via the telephoto lens. I like to take portrait shots from the wider lens, and since that also happens to be the primary camera, the subject is sharper compared to the telephoto lens, and the overall look of the portrait shots is very good. I would have preferred even sharper subjects and no skin smoothing even with the beauty mode turned off, but that is just my personal preference, and I feel most people will like the portrait shots that this phone can take. Like with most other phones, you can take portrait mode images of objects as well. And again, you can choose to take wide or tight portrait shots. Edge detection is still good and in some ways even better. But I observed a major shift in white balance when you try to take portrait mode images of objects with different lenses. This is surprising since we did not see a big shift in color temperature or white balance as we switched lenses while taking ultra wide, normal and telephoto shots. And I also didn't see this big shift while taking portraits of people, so I hope it is a small bug and will be fixed pretty soon. Let us now move on to the images shot in indoors, artificial and lower lighting situations. On the primary camera, the wide f1.6 aperture lets more light reach the sensor, and this sensor is also optically stabilized so it can gather that extra light for a slightly longer time. All of this means that the OnePlus 7T is equipped with pretty good hardware for taking low light images, and the results are in front of you. These images look good on their own considering the available light at the scene. But how do they look when compared to some of the other competing smartphones? Well, that is a question for another video. So for now, let us move on to the nightscape images. As you might already know, there is a nightscape mode to help you take better images in lower light. This mode adds in much more light and details to the otherwise dull looking images. I know someone is going to comment that you can use the Pro mode and get better results with even longer exposure, and you are right. But that might require a tripod or something to keep the phone steady, and some knowledge of things like shutter speed, ISO, exposure and so on. And trust me, most people don't want to mess with these settings every time they want to take a decent image, so the nightscape mode works best for them. In some cases where there are too many shadows, this mode will add a lot of noise in the image, but in other cases like this one, nightscape mode actually reduced a lot of noise that we can otherwise see in the overall image. Nightscape mode on the 7T is not as good as the night mode on the Pixel or Huawei smartphones, but it is trying to get there. So overall, I think the OnePlus 7T does a good job in lower lighting situations. That brings us to the front-facing camera. We have been looking at the same front-facing sensor for quite a few generations on these OnePlus smartphones, and its performance is nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, it is a decent shooter, but the sharpness and detail levels just don't really match up to the other front-facing cameras in the market. I'm not talking about a bump in the megapixel count, I just feel that the image processing needs to get a bit better on this one. These days, there are so many better front-facing cameras, even on budget smartphones, that it makes me wonder when will OnePlus start giving us better, sharper and more detailed looking selfies. Edge detection for portrait selfies is really good. Your face, hair, ears, everything is in focus and there are no hard edges between the subject and the background. It does really well even when you have multiple faces in the shot, so for the portrait selfies, I think it is doing a really good job, but I will still like to see the faces to be a bit more detailed and sharper. Here's a video from the front-facing camera of the OnePlus 7T. You can see how it handles the overall colors of the scene, exposure and stabilization when I'm walking around with it. Coming to video, just like previous OnePlus phones, 7T lets you shoot 4K videos in up to 60 FPS, and these videos are stabilized via OIS, and 30 FPS videos are stabilized via electronic stabilization. I feel these videos are a lot warmer than how the actual scene looked, but other than that, they turned out pretty well. You can take 240 FPS slow motion videos in 1080p resolution and 480 FPS super slow motion videos in 720p resolution. I think OnePlus has finally managed to put in a decent set of cameras on one of their smartphones. Now, I haven't compared the images from the 7T with any other smartphones yet, so I don't know how it will stand against the competition. But on its own, I think the OnePlus 70 has got a good set of cameras, and for once, OnePlus seems to have got the image post-processing right. 70 definitely costs more than the OnePlus 7, but if you are serious about smartphone photography and you want to stick to the Android side of things, I feel you should go with the OnePlus 70. I am working on comparing these cameras with the ones on the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, and also with the budget devices like the Redmi Note 8 Pro, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel and have the notifications turned on. Now, what are your thoughts about the cameras on this OnePlus 70? Let me know in the comments. If this video helped you, and if you are planning to get this phone, I will really appreciate if you get it from the affiliate link in the description. It helps the channel a lot at no extra cost to you. That is it for this video, guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for more quality tech videos like this. You can also check out some of the other videos from this channel. This has been Sagar, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.